we go into today's class, I would like us to have a quick revision on the snatch bot. I'll make it an open revision. I would like to know, first of all, if we've been able to try our hands on the snatch bot. Snatch bot is pretty much more straightforward than alpha software, I believe. So I hope that we have all registered. So maybe I'll just call names randomly. Okay, so okay, so I had to stop sharing so I can get back to my Zoom screen. I've seen some great input from some of us on the Snatchbot and some trials as well on Alpha software. So we have finished like two tools. We intend to learn three different platforms. We've been able to learn web and mobile application development using open source Alpha software. We have also learned chatbot development using open source Snatchbot. Open source means free tools that are available online, right? And they can also be customized. That's why they call them open source. So these things that we have learned, software engineers too can do it by writing code from the scratch. But there are tools that are available now that you don't necessarily need to write code, right? You only need, the main thing is the idea that you want to implement and your learning of the tool. Once you're able to learn the tool, you'll be able to create the idea. There are many tools like that. It's not just this tool. There are many tools like that. But I just chose these ones because of their robustness and the the how I put it, maybe the ease of learning. Yeah. Once you get a good hold of these tools, you'll be able to do a lot of interesting things. But it all depends on your time for practice. And it's important you actually do. You practice. Um, you cannot become how I put it, you can't become a software engineer, whether by writing code or by using tools, in few days. The passion lies on you, but I bet you it's a good learning opportunity, and it's something that is a skill that once you have, you can keep building on, and it can improve your marketability and your ability to solve problems, to also make your skills available for good earning path. So please, I beg of you, use this opportunity to learn and practice and create something, create an idea, create a product, create something that you are proud of, that you can show for yourself that, oh, this is what I made out from this training. Yeah, it's very important. Okay, so as we move on with the training, we get into more technical things, and we don't have a choice because this is artificial intelligence training class. So you expect that you need to do things that are artificial intelligence based. So you need to do scientific things. You need to put yourself to learn technical things. So the last session, we have 2 more sessions to go. The last 2 sessions is going to be a bit more technical, but I'm going to break it down as much as I can, because I always believe that anybody can learn anything they put their mind to learn. Yeah, I'll do my bit in teaching you, but you to do your own part um, in integrating this learning into your passion and your into your time by developing and by practicing. So it's very important. I just need to stress that bit. Okay, so I know many of us missed the Smartbot class. That's for developing chatbots. So I'm going to run through a quick revision in the next 10 minutes. Yeah, 10 minutes, just to give you a quick overview and the power of what you can do with Smartbot. I'm not going to go into detail. I just want to do a run through so that people who missed the classes would definitely go and watch the past 2 videos and then use that interest to create something. Then we'll start off with the data analysis part of the training, which will hold this week and next week. I might create an additional class because this part is more technical. I'll just teach you the main things you need to know. I might create an additional class to cover up what I would like to teach you. But just like I said, the main thing lies with you, and you can learn all these 3 things. Yeah, though they have different areas for use. Like some of you that are interested in working with research data and creating machine learning models and things like that. This last leg of the training, today's class and the next round of the training would be very, very useful for you. Okay, so let me just do a quick revision of chatbots. Seeing that many of us missed the classes, some people have reached out to me for reasons for missing the class. Of course, you can reach out to me after now. I'm always open. It's just that I'm busy, so I might not respond to you always immediately, but I'll definitely respond to you. So, okay, let me see the chat there. Oh, someone said he's not hearing me. Please, can you hear me? Is it me or please confirm if you can hear me.
I hear you loud and clear.
Oh, okay. Okay. Miriam, please, you might just need to check your audio. Noisy place, so, and I'm in a different place, so I need to always check my data availability if it's fine where I am. Okay, so I'm going to share screen now and just run through Smartbot again in the next few minutes. So Smartbot is available online. You don't need to download and install this. You just need to create an account, register an account for yourself, and Chatbot is actually very, very useful for many things. In fact, you can create this chatbot for yourself for play. You can create it for fun. You can create it for businesses. Create it for small businesses around you, large businesses around you. Banks use it. Uber uses it. You can just name whatever kind of business they use chatbots. And I've also taught you how to extract the data from the chatbot. I'm just going to run through it quickly. So when you create an account on Snatchbots, which is a platform for developing chatbots, is an open source. There are many other ones as well, but I find this very, very robust, and it has many features for free, and I've used this a lot. So this is the dashboard, and your menus are on the left, right? So the main menus are the bots, the reports, and the documentation for help. Then of course, this is for your own profile. You can change your password and things like that from there. But the main ones I really want us to know is the reports, where with which you can extract data that people sent into your chatbot, and the bots. So once you create your account and you log into Snatchbot, you come to My Bots, and then from My Bots, I mentioned to you that you are going to see different bots, different chatbots that you have created on your bot. So this is your dashboard area to see all the different chatbots that you have created recently. If you want to create a new bot, you click on Create Bot. Now, on Create Bot, you have templates that ship with Snatchbot. So those, in fact, if you want to even learn or understand how chatbot works, just click on each of these templates and run it. So just click on any of. So there are many templates. You can use any of the templates, but if you even also, you can also use it to learn how chatbot works. So let's look at this. I think I saw customer ticket just now. Yeah, so let's look at this template for customer ticket. Just click on demo. So if you click on demo, it's showing you what the chatbot looks like and how you can interact with it. So you can see every chat is a greeting, right? So like a form of greeting, and you can pick. So this is for booking for a movie ticket. Cinema ticket bot, right? You can see. So chatbots are very interesting and easy to use, right? So this kind of chatbot is informational. It's providing information to the customer, or to the customer. You can have chatbots that are also extractive. You use it to get information from the customer. So in that case, you allow the customer to type. But in this case, it's just providing information. So all that the customer needs to do is just to click, click, click. So this is for booking a ticket. Okay, so here I need to put in number of how many tickets do you wish to purchase. Let me see. Let's use this ticket bot. So instead of demo, let's click on use the template so that we can see the details of the bot, how it's created, and the linking for the bot. Okay, so this is what a bot page looks like. That's the creation of a bot. This is what the page for the creation looks like. So on the left, on the far left, you have the menu as well. The menu has changed a bit. So under my bots, you now have viewed, global connections, channels, and configures. Then you still have the rest of the menus like you had them in the main or welcome page. So this is the page for creating your bot, right? Now, this middle screen is also very, very important. So it's in this middle screen that you create what we call interaction. So each display of this bot is known as interaction. So when I click and I give an input, the next display of a question or an information by the bot, by the named bot, is called an interaction. So you can see the first interaction is the welcome interaction. This can be renamed. And if you want to see the details of what is in the interaction, you see it under bot message, right? In the last class video, I showed us how to create interaction, how to input the messages for our interaction, and then how to connect our interaction to the next interaction. I also showed us how to create the replies, that's the clickable points for the customer. So you can see this is the message for the interaction. When you click on connection, you see the replies that are clickable for the customer. And I also mentioned this to us last week that you need to disable text input if you want the customer just to click, right? And for each of these buttons for clicking, you need to also create
Hello, can anybody hear?
The connection, right? The conditions for the connection. What the actions are specified in the conditions to this interaction contains the whole. Look at. Hello, can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me now? Oh, okay. Sorry for the background. Yes. Just a second. Yeah, please confirm. Okay, yeah, you can hear me. Okay, let me share my screen again. I think there was a network glitch. Okay, yeah, so let's continue. As I was saying, for every of these interaction, you need to specify conditions, and these are specified under connections, right? So for every of your clickable buttons, so today, tomorrow, movies playing, they are clickable buttons, right? And you can specify the conditions here. You can even specify more than one button in the condition, just like you have here, movies. So if response to this interaction exactly matches movies or movies playing, then go to movies. So you can see the way you can specify these different connections. I'm not going to run through of this interaction, but I just want to explain the basis for us. So this is welcome interaction. This is the next interaction after it. You can rename these interactions to whatever suits you. So I can call this showing in the cinema. So the interactions can be renamed. You can call it anything. It's just good to give it a name that is descriptive so that when you revisit your bot, you can know what each interaction is doing and which one should come first. So in each of these interactions, apart from the conditional statements that helps you to connect to another interaction, you can also specify a non-condition here under fallback connection. So it just works like an if-else statement. If this, then this. If this, then this. End condition. So if no condition at all, do nothing or go to another interaction. So it's just you understanding logic, simple logic, and plan out how you want this logic to flow, how you want your branching to be. So that's the main thing about chatbot. Then if you would want to extract the data imputed by your customer, then you need to ensure that these buttons are checked. So once they are checked, if you go to reports on that particular bot, you can come here and choose the particular bot, right? If people have interacted with your bot, you find the report here. So just pick the bot. If you have created it on various channels, you might need to specify which channel you want. Someone was asking me if you can deploy this on Telegram. Yes, you can. You can also deploy this on WhatsApp, but for the WhatsApp version, you need a license to deploy on WhatsApp. But for web, it's free. For Telegram as well, it's free. So click, and then click on apply. So I don't have any message display yet because nobody has interacted with this chatbot that I just created. So that's basically that about Snatch. Time in the last two videos. Hello.
Hello, man.
Am I still audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. I'm seeing unstable network on my screen, so that's what I'm checking. So I want you guys to watch the videos and I want you to create chatbots. And I want everybody in the class to please create chatbots. There are many, in fact, you can create 2 or more chatbots. You can create for businesses around you. If you are running a business, create a chatbot for your business. You can create a chatbot for RDSF Foundation as well. You can create a chatbot for anything you can think of. So please, everyone should ensure they create a chatbot. And also try to work on either a web or a mobile application on Alpha 5. And I mentioned that you can even link your chatbot into your Alpha 5 application. So I really want to see that from every one of us. So that's the quick revision I have for us on Snatchbots. I'm going to move to today's class. But before I do, I want to know, are there questions or comments? I've seen some chatbot links that some of you have shared with me. Very nice work, keep it up. I've given comments for some of them. I'm hoping to see improvements in the work. For those who are yet to do theirs, you can create yours and send me the link. I will definitely go through it and give you my comments as well. So let me have your comments or your challenges, and then we start the actual class for today.
Hello,
Yeah, I can hear you.
I want to ask you a question.
Okay, please go on.
Regarding the Alpha software, you taught us how to create a login page. Are you hearing me, ma'am?
Yes, I can hear you.
You taught us how to create a login page. Now, but you said that we can redirect that login page to web page or a mobile or an UX the mobile app. Now, when I create a login page and I change that redirection into an US component, I change it from web page to US component. Now I check that mobile box in that when I design the US component, when I design what I want to design, as in I want to put in form of mobile. Now, when I run the live test, I've derived the login page to that US component. Now, when I run the live test, I've checked the box for mobile, but it doesn't bring that app in form of mobile. When I enter as in when I log in through the login page.
Okay, so if I get you clearly, you created the login component.
Yes.
And then you put it on a UX component, which is for mobile, right?
Yes.
Hello?
I'm hearing you, ma'am.
Okay, so then when you run the live test, you can't see it as a mobile.
Yes.
Okay, so when you run the live test, how does it display as?
It looks like as if I didn't check that mobile, the box at the top. It looks as if I didn't check that box.
Okay, but when you run the preview on the UX component.
Yes, when I run the preview, it brings it in form of mobile.
Okay, when you run the preview, it gives it to mobile.
Ma.
Okay, so I want to ask you something. For the live test, did you use the link?
I didn't use any link. I just the light at the top of this there is a page inside that project in which I created in which there are every component inside the project that I created that contain all the components. Now there is a link to live test at the top of that at the top of that.
You know why? Yeah, you know you are running the live test on a desktop machine. Yes. So it's going to take the form of a desktop. So if you want to see it in form of a mobile, run the remote test, which will give you a link, then copy that link and send it to your phone and run it on your phone. It will then display in form of mobile on your phone.
That login page?
Yes, even with the login page. It will display on your phone with the login page. So because it's running the live test on your desktop, on your machine, it won't display in form of a phone. You can only see it in form of a phone, running it as a preview.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Another question.
Yeah, please go on.
And I remember the question now. Oh my God. When I was running the remote test, are you hearing me, ma'am? Now, about that remote test, if I disconnect my phone, if my phone is not in the same local server with my system, that thing the remote test doesn't work.
Yes, I mentioned that to you now. So it only works on your local system with your phone or with any external device. If you want it to work outside your local system, then um, you need to host the application. That's what they call it. So that's when you now need um, like all these Zebra host or whatever, because by then you have to have a proper web application, web IP for it and all that. So you can use it for a demo, but you can't use it for an actual project. If you want to use it for an actual project, then someone will be willing to pay for it, and then you can buy
Okay.
the license, or you can then own it free, because they believe that by the time you want to make it live for anyone and everyone to be able to use it, then you'd already have someone willing to pay for it. So at that point, you need to pay.
Okay,
Does
ma.
that answer your question?
Yes, ma. Thank you, ma.
Okay, great. Yeah, I would like to see your work. I'm not sure I've seen your, maybe you can later send me
I've sent it to you.
screenshots of what you've done.
Huh? Ma. Hello, ma.
Okay. Okay, well done. Hello? Ṣé kò ń ṣe pé wà á lé ọ̀dọ̀ wa? Màá sílẹ̀. Okay, jọ máa pè é padà, mò ń ṣe training, máa pè é padà. Hello?
Now, I've sent. Are you talking to me about my work, man? That you have not seen my work.
Yeah, I was saying I didn't see your work, but you can
I've sent
send
it
it to me out.
And you've made comment on it.
Oh, okay. My apologies. Maybe after this training, you can just send it to me again, or just say hi to me, so I can check it again. Yeah. Okay. Any other comments, question, challenge? Does anyone want to talk about this or what they've learned so far? Are we making progress together? Are you learning and doing something?
Hello, ma.
How
Hello.
many of us have created chatbots? Hello, I can hear you. Yeah, George,
Okay.
go on.
Okay. I have a question concerning the Alpha software too. I wanted to ask when it comes to linking a database to the Alpha software. Let's say, for instance, something the file you have is something in SQL format or maybe Access, and you don't have that particular app installed on your system. Is it possible for you to still be able to link it on the Alpha software?
Okay, great question. So you are creating, and the data must be resident somewhere. So if the data is in your, or if the data is in SQL form, then meaning that the data is resident in an SQL application installed on your software. So it has to be installed on your software. But of course, you can connect to data outside applications installed on your software. Like you can have your data in the cloud, like in Microsoft Azure platform online. So that one does not need to be resident on your laptop. You just need to know the connection details and connect to it. You understand? So the data you are bringing in, if it's outside Alpha software, is definitely on a software. So you just need to know where you want to have the software, either on your laptop or in the cloud remotely, and then know how to connect to it. And you can also put the data into Alpha software as well. But it doesn't make sense creating large data in Alpha software when you already have it either in Excel. So you can have your data in Excel and connect to it. You can have your data in SQL. You can have your data in Access, right? You can have your data even in Notepad in CSV form and connect to it. So if your data is in CSV form, you don't need to install anything. It only requires the CSV file. So a lot of times people use CSV files, data in CSV file, but you can just know how to create the connection string and ensure that the connection string works. Did that answer your question?
Yes, ma, you did. Thank you very much, ma.
A question, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Now, if I
Okay,
could,
one more question or comment.
a question.
I move on to today's class.
Hello, ma'am.
Hello, I can hear you.
Now, if I could hear you very well, you said that without having all these management studio, SQL management studio, and its code, without having it on our local system here, we can connect to a database inside the cloud or something. I don't.
Okay, good. So if your data is in SQL, then you have to have SQL on your machine. Are you getting me? If your data is in SQL form, you have to have SQL on your machine.
Okay.
If your data is in CSV, CSV is like Excel. And then you now save it as CSV. So in Excel, you can save your data as CSV. CSV means comma separated values. Is a lightweight, commonly used form of data collection or data storage. Right. So all of these data, whether in CSV, whether in SQL, whether in Access, they would usually be in form of rows and columns. Are you getting me? So you just need to be able to specify that connection string in Alpha 5. Alpha 5 allows you connection to any of these options. I remember that while we were having the training class, we were trying to connect to Excel, but for some reasons it wasn't working. But I'm sure it's going to work, but we just were not ready to troubleshoot that for that training, but it's going to work. Just click on the connection to Excel or to CSV or any connection type that Alpha 5 offers, and then connect your data to it. Did that answer your question?
Yes, and another one. Actually, I succeeded in connecting a database to that Alpha 5 because I have this SQL Management Studio installed on my system. But the problem I encounter is that when I use the connection of this Avadao, this Northwind database. Okay. Now, my application, as in the crude, this creates create all these crude systems, crude something that our file support. Now, that app using the Northwind database access the already the data that's already in that database. It's access for what?
Yeah.
What I want to say, as in that
Alpha 5
by connecting to the Northwind database, I can, as in that mobile app access the data that's already in that database. But when I use the SQL database, as in I have some data inside my database before, but that app cannot access the data inside the database unless I enter another, as in new data.
I know why. So that's I think you are using a template, right? And then that template already connects to the Northwind database that ships with Alpha 5. So what you need to do is that for each of the components in that template, you need to go and change the data source to your own connection. Once you change it and it finds the table and the data there, it will connect to it. You get my point now?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, great. I like the questions that are coming. This show, even though it's coming from just a few people, but I believe others are learning or getting encouraged by that. I'm going to move to today's class now. Today's class is introductory, and I'm going to ask you to download and install the software we'll be using. The software is open source, so once you understand the basis of today's class, which is theoretical, by next week, by the time we're doing the practical, we'll move much faster. So that's why I allowed for revision in today's class. So let me share my screen now, and then we okay. So today's the last lap of the training has to do with data analytics. And data analytics is also very, very important in artificial intelligence, because details of artificial intelligence actually lie with data. The insights of creating intelligence in machines actually lies with data. In fact, all the tools that we have also created or we've been working on, both web application, mobile application, chatbot, if you notice one thing common to all of them is data. It's either you are generating data or you are collecting data, or so what really makes artificial intelligence is data. Now we want to, at this last lab, understand how data scientists or AI experts, how they work or how they see data and how they work with data. In some artificial intelligence training, it's only data analytics or things around data that they will teach you. But beyond the training, I also wanted you guys to have skills. And skills deals a lot with creating products, right? So that was why we needed to start off with learning those products first, right? But this last part of the training is very, very important. You need to understand how to work with data that you are gathering and be able to create insights and machine learning models from them. I'm not going to go into details of the technical or core parts of this aspect of AI, but I'm just going to teach you on the surface the basis, and then we'll use an open source tool with which you can even do any form of data analysis and machine learning, and also be able to create insight. I'll just teach how to use it. And whenever you have the opportunity to be amongst maybe in a boot camp of people that are doing machine learning or whatever, you won't you won't feel strange. You already have a good sound background knowledge. Right. So why data? This is a definition I derived for myself at some point while training, that data is actually a byproduct of various human to machine, machine to machine, and human to human interaction. So in our everyday life, we create data. So I'm not talking about data for browsing, though. So there are two ways people view data. So there is data for browsing, which comes as you having data on your phone to browse. But the data we are talking about here is data as in figures or content, right? Like on your phone, you store contacts, you store names of people on your phone. That's also a form of data. So your contact list on your phone is a data. When you are talking or interacting with people, like in your chatbot, you say, hello, how are you? What's your name? The person gives you his name. That's data. You are gathering names of people. That's data. You are gathering ages of people. That's data. Or let's say you are into research. Um, you are gathering data for your research. It comes as rows and columns. Or maybe at your workplace, you work with data. You get data of clients, um, or maybe data of shipments, or maybe you're into business. So data is all around us. So as we interact, human to human interaction creates data, right? Machine interactions as well create data. When you have when if you're into engineering and you work with machines, you take readings of your machines, um, like okay, this machine, um, maybe the 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 screw spins on it is 30 millimeters, millimeters, and the rest of that, or maybe per day, per week. All of this is data. So it's very important we understand how to work with data, what data actually means. So data is actually all around us. We generate data per second at every moment. Even so now we have two forms of data. We have data in forms of all that I've mentioned, like names, ages, countries, name it, all whatever form. So those we call structured data. But now we have, now you can send voice notes on your phone. That's a voice data. That is also data, but in an audio form. When you also do a video is also data. But those kind of data, we call them unstructured data. So we can have two forms of data. So I'm just trying to make you understand what data means, or what data is in the world of artificial intelligence, in the world of data sciences. So all of this is data, right? And all of these different kind of data, we can mine it. We can we can mine it. Mining it simply means like we are aggregating, or we are refining the data, or in a crude form of it, you can say we are cooking the data to create a new form of data, which is an intelligence, right? So I just wanted to open our understanding of data. So why is data now important? Why do people talk a lot about data, data, data? Why has data become like a buzzword? Why is data science? Why is it so important now? Why is artificial intelligence, you know, so popular now? It's because data is now becoming so big. So before now, people might not keep data or store data, but now data is an asset. Companies store data and even sell their data for creating insights. Companies use their data for competitive advantages. And because of these characteristics that data have, data has become more voluminous. So data now keeps increasing. As it keeps increasing, it's also become more, it becomes of great asset. Then data speed these days now is now very fast, because people generate data on the go, even by talking on their phone. Sometimes people can the information of your your phone call can be mined to create insights um, around information about you, right? So data can be generated on the go through our mobile phones. Even when you are browsing online, things around, we have things we call cookies. So when you are browsing online, information about you on, they might not have your personal information like your name and all that, but your login details, or no, your Google details, or your ID, and the kind of sites you browse can be mined about you to create adverts that will come to you. So data now has become very profitable, right? And because data is created at high speed now, everything we are doing is actually creating data. In every of our movements, every of our actions online, on mobile, is creating data about us. So there's high speed and velocity of data. Now there's also different types of data now that can be used. So data use can be in text form, like when you send messages. Data can even be in picture form, like your smileys, your likes on Facebook, and the rest of that. Data can also be in audio form, in video form, like I had mentioned earlier. So data now is of large variety. Data is of great value. I've mentioned that before. Data is also of high variability. So the meaning of data can constantly change. That's what variability means. Then veracity and all that. So these are different characteristics that have been studied about data that makes data of high importance and of high usage. Right. So now, data analytics is a field in data science, which also has to do with artificial intelligence. But for the artificial intelligence training, we are majoring on data analytics. So data analytics, data science, they are just about the same thing. The only difference is that in analytics, we're looking at the creation of insights. But in data science, it goes beyond the creation of insights, and in addition, the creation of machine learning models. I'm not going to go fully into creation of machine learning models. I'm just going to teach you on the surface how to understand data and how to work on your data to create insights. This is going to be very useful for people who generate data or who require data for research purpose and are wanting to understand how to work with their data. From the profile of the people I have on the training, I noticed that some of you are into research and you would actually need this sort of training. So data analytics is interdisciplinary and it involves knowledge of statistics. I'm going to explain in the training how statistics influence. Going to say a few statistical concepts. So data analytics is across different domains. So if you remember in the first training session we had, I mentioned to us that in the field of artificial intelligence, anyone can play there, even as a domain expert. So your knowledge of your work, your domain, will help you in creating ideas in how to apply artificial intelligence to your field. So artificial intelligence is interdisciplinary, both for people that are into medicine. If you're a doctor, you can understand medical data and then use that to create artificial intelligence, or use that to create AI products that we have explained earlier. So as a doctor, if you are creating a chatbot, it will likely inform the details of what will be in the chatbot. As a farmer or someone who is in agriculture, if I'm creating a chatbot, I'll create something in my own domain that has to do with chatbot. So AI is no longer a special skill. I tell people that we are in the fourth industrial revolution. The near future is going to run like AI, run on AI. The same thing we have now, that everything now is running on computing. you need to understand how to use a computer for you to, know, be able to do anything, even in school, even at workplace, at most workplace, you need to understand how to use a computer. In the next few years, in fact, in most developed countries, that's what is already obtaining now. You need to understand how to apply AI into your field for you to be able to do anything. So understanding of AI in creating and working with products or tools. If you travel to any developed country today, if you don't know how to use the tools in your field, you will not be able to work. If you are into accounting, you need to understand and know how to work with accounting softwares that deals with your field. If you're into medicine, you can't be doing the way medical doctors do in some countries, or in our country, that they still scribble handwriting on paper. No, you would have all the system automated. All of this softwares. So you need to understand that these tools will provide for ease of collecting data, ease of the data, right? So unlike hospitals that you say have medical files and all that, in some more advanced hospitals, you have all the medical data about a patient on the system. And that's how it should be, because this data can be used to um, new epidemic that might be localized. You understand? So sometimes they say, "Oh, cholera break out somewhere and people are dying there." They might have just generalized. It might not be cholera; it might be something else. But if there is data, this data can be mined. Okay, so I'm digressing now. But I'm just trying to broaden our understanding of what AI is all about. AI is about tools, the products, the softwares, and the data itself. So now we are looking at the data itself. So data is interdisciplinary, it's across different domains. So don't look at it that, oh, do I need to learn coding? It's not about coding. I always tell people it's not about coding. It's about you being able to apply your thinking to the way AI works, and then be able to create tools, products, and understanding of working with data, because everything that we are doing boils down to data. Okay, so the whole life cycle of data, from historical data to present data and future data, is the journey of data exploration. So data analytics in its real sense deals with both historical data, past data, present data, and future data. So the future data is the insight that we create from the historical and present data, right? And there are tools that are available for doing this. We're going to be using the 9 tools. You can also do a little tool from Excel. I'm going to show you a little of that on how you can use Excel to create simple insights. Excel is also a very great tool for simple data analysis. But for the open source tool that we'll be using for this training, we'll be using 9. Okay, um, so who are the action players in data analytics? Data analytics contain different kind of things that people can do. So don't look at it that, oh, okay, I can't write code. How do I function as a data analytics or as a data scientist? Or how do I see myself operating? If I want to go fully into the field of IT, in what area can I operate? What can I do? So this is a major categorization of different career aspects of data analytics. you have the main computing domain. These are for people who have background in computer science or engineering and are interested in creating softwares. So these people are the main coders. They are the ones who write code, develop algorithms, software, and all that. So if you want to major in this field and you have the skills for it and the training for it, because you can't become a software engineer by just attending training or whatever. You have to have passion, you have to have learned, be trained for it, and then is a lifetime job. It's something you keep developing and keep improving upon. This is where I also major in. I have my background in computing, and I do many of these things, right? I'm also able to understand how this other domain, how they work, and I can help people get on these various domains. So you also have the data domain experts. This is for people who are pure experts in their various domain, and they want to contribute their own knowledge of how their domain works in the field of AI. So in this domain, you have maybe medical experts, you have accounting experts. They understand the details of accounting. They've been trained in it. You even have experts in various type of skills. Maybe if you're into engineering, like plumbing, like architecture. So this is for domain. I think when we say domain, we mean people who are experts in their field. So these are the people who actually help to create logic that works in the algorithm. So these are the people who also provide the data and understands the data. So a medical doctor will understand medical data more than I do, but I can work with the medical doctor to create the software for medical doctors, right? But I can't understand the medical data except I've been trained in it. You understand? So these are for domain experts. So domain experts only need to, which many of you are actually, but you need that understanding and that embrace of artificial intelligence, data analytics, and the rest of that in contributing effectively to the world of 4IR. Then you have the data engineers. The data engineers understand and work with data, all forms of data, whether the structured and unstructured form of data, and they understand how to store those data and how to manipulate the data. So the data engineers are people who are experts in the use of SQL and various data platforms and understand how to move data from one platform to another. So this is also another field you can major in. So these are different skill sets that you can look at that, okay, if I want to make myself very relevant in the field of artificial intelligence, is no longer in the field of computing. Computer is not everywhere. Computer is now pure water. Now you need to add skill to what you have. You can look at any of this area and decide that, okay, this is what I want to learn, and create a learning track for yourself. Once you do that and you keep learning, before you know it, you can even do remote jobs. You can be in your, because in the field of IT, you don't necessarily, your skill is marketable anywhere and everywhere. You can be in the comfort of your room and be creating softwares. You can be in the comfort of your room and be working remotely, and you've created that skill in yourself that people are paying for, right? So these are various um, you know domains. The statistical domain is more research based. So if you know you are into research or you like academics and you want to do um, PhD, masters, and wherever, you can do a lot about statistical domain. You can see it has to do with model hypothesis simulation, fitting, experimental design, and the rest of that. So these are just key fields in the data analytics and artificial intelligence space that people can major in, and various domains find their fit in any of these areas. So this is just a general classification, but we can keep expanding and expanding this, especially the domain experts classification. We can expand and expand this into various domains. But at least from the training you've gotten so far, you should have broadened your knowledge to understand that you can do anything that you want to do as long as you have you 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 sit down to think that, okay, this is the area I want to major in, and these are the skills I need to acquire to become very proficient or become an expert in that area. Okay, so now talking about data analytics, for you to understand data, you also need to understand the basis of how uh, people work with data, the basis of how scientists work with data. Now, a lot of basis for data analytics is derived from statistics. And I'm going to break it down as simple as I can so that you understand when they are giving you those big, big buzzwords, you understand where they are coming from. So, many of us would have learned mean, median, and mode in our maybe elementary education or maybe early years of secondary school. So mean, median, and mode is one of the basis of statistics, very, very basic statistics. But as basic as it is, it's very, very important in understanding data. And this is what mean, median, and mode simply means. So let me paint a light scenario for you. If we look at the number of calls that people make, take yourself for an example. I'm sure early in the morning when you wake up, you don't make a lot of calls. Maybe you make a few calls. But during the daytime, you likely make more calls because maybe you are making calls as per your business or making calls as per families, checking on them, or making calls as per your itinerary for the day and things like that. You make more calls during the day. And then at night, you make few calls. So that's a live scenario of the way data is. So it is expected that there's a curvature for data generation. So it is expected that data generation gradually increases, gets to a peak, and then gradually declines. So I just use that example of making of calls, individual example. I can use another example of growth. Yeah, or no, okay, let me use cars, of cars movement. If you stay at a point and keep observing cars movement on the road, you won't find cars moving. You won't find how like you won't find a lot of cars moving at every point in time of the day. There is going to be a gradual, maybe early in the morning you see few cars, during the day you see a lot of cars, at night you see fewer cars. So what we are just trying to say is that when you take a particular data, just one single data, in data analytics, we call it one variable. If you are looking at a single set of data, just like I said, I'm looking at, I've given an example of phone calls. Okay, let me give another example of age distributions of students in a classroom. You won't find all of them of the same age. You find some people of lower age, you find a lot of people about the same age, and then you have maybe few people that are older age in that class. So if you take a curvature of that, it looks like the same curvature I'm seeing on the screen. So you always have data gradually rising. You have a lot of data within the range, and then you have a few high data, right? So in statistics, the mean, which is also known as the average, is always around where you have a lot of data, right? And then then the mode will be where you have the highest data. So sometimes we expect that a real life scenario will always follow a point that you have the mean, median, and mode to be equal. So this is called a normal life scenario for normal occurrences. Another example is if you look at the salary of employees in an organization, you have a few people like maybe the cleaners, the drivers, or a few people like that that have very poor salary, right? So their salary is somewhere here. Then you have many of the staff that some people have fair salary, some people have high salary, and like that. And then you have maybe the top managers, the executive, you have them somewhere here having very high salary, but they are not many. So you always have a few people on the low curvature, you always have a few people on the high curvature. If you even look at wealth index, this general classification of people by wealth, when they say, okay, poor masses, middle income, and then high class, you always have many people in the middle class, many people who are earning average, right? So the normal life scenario is always in form of a curvature like this. So this is well explained in statistics as normal life scenario occurrence. And this is part of what informs the studying of the patterns in data, right? So now, sometimes you can have a normal life scenario, sometimes you can have a skewed scenario. A skewed scenario is when you have an unusually high number of people earning lower, right? And then few people earning higher, right? So this we say is left skewed. So you have left skewed when most of the data are on the right, which means that they are earning lower because this is the lower part of the curve of the graph. And then you have few people that are earning higher. So this is left skewed. Then you have the right skewed. So this is an example of right skewed. You have few people earning lower, and then you have a lot of people earning higher, right? So I'm just using earning to explain this. It can be anything. It can be number of calls, so representative of a person, that the person makes very few calls during the day and makes a lot of calls at night, right? So this is abnormal. Both left skewed and right skewed are abnormal. What is normal is the symmetric skew, which is the same thing as your normal occurrence or normal life scenario. So this is an understanding of how statisticians help scientists to create knowledge of data in creating the patterns that can be learned or discovered from data. So I'm going to just explain this. You can read it up more later on statistical concepts around normal distribution skewed and unskewed data, and you can maybe get more errors are printed to you. It simply explains a pattern. So this is one way that we can discover the pattern in our data by simply using the statistics of mean, median, mode, and the plotting of our data to understand the pattern in that data, whether it is normal distribution or is left skewed or right skewed. Right, so let's move on to the next concept. Another important concept in understanding how data works is understanding outliers. We need to understand this concept because by the time we start doing the practicals, we are going to see some things, and I'm just going to relate it back to the theoretical concept that I'm explaining now. So the outlier simply means that you can have a data that is different from the classification of many of the rest of the data, right? So an outlier is an observation that lies in an abnormal distance. It is different from the classification of the rest of the data. So outlier can distort the balance of your data. So if you look at this picture, you can see that this data here actually forms a balanced data, but you then have an outlier somewhere far from the rest of the data. So in statistics or in creating intelligence, we usually find a way of either removing this outlier or taking it away from the far distance and bringing it closer to the rest of the data so that our intelligence can be generalized. And our intelligence can, the insight, when I say intelligence, I simply mean the insight to create from the data patterns can cover all the data. So so when you are creating an insight from data, you are creating insights based on patterns, based on new patterns, on existing patterns in historical data. So what we do as data scientists or in creating our data, in getting our data ready for creating the model, is that we are discovering the patterns in the data. So if you have a data that is lying outside the general pattern, it's going to distort your data. So we call this outlier, and then we find a way of dealing with outliers. So the next concept I also want you to understand is understanding relationship between more than one variable. So before now, I've been explaining a single variable to us. Single variable is what we use in understanding the pattern in one variable data, right? We also use just single variable data in understanding outlier. But if we want to understand what we call correlation, correlation is simply relationship. It's another word, is a statistical word for relationship. If you want to understand the correlation between data, then you need to understand the concept of the significance between these two data. So when we have two variables, so variables simply means that when you are looking at two data columns, I'm going to demonstrate that to you in Excel very soon. But I just want you to look at this concept and understand this concept here first. So when you have two variables, when as one variable is rising, the other one is rising. As one variable is rising, the other one is rising, like you have here, then you say that the two variables are positive in their correlation. A good example will be if we're looking at variables of let's assume that we're gathering data of people's skill level and their earning power. That's their salary, the salary that they are able to earn. The higher the skill you have, the higher the earning power you likely have. Are you getting me? So we can say that there's a positive relationship, positive correlation between your skill level and your earning power. Do we understand? So that is a statistical concept that is also very useful in working with data, because this helps us to understand patterns. This is the pattern between two variables or between multiple variables. So we use this in understanding pattern in generating insight, because if we're generating insight, we can plot two variables on a graph and look at the pattern. Is it positively correlated? And then use that to determine the value of the variable that is next to it. Do we understand? Hello, can we hear me?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Okay,
Yes,
great.
ma'am.
Okay, cool. The next kind of pattern that you can derive from data in creating insight, is the negative pattern. So this negative pattern between two variables, two data variables, can help you to understand that as one is increasing, the other one is decreasing. So I'm sorry I'm unable to use a marker with this. I wish I can use a marker, but please just follow my mouse. So I'm on this second graph. You have two variables, this axis and this axis. And then as one data is increasing, if you plot this to the point, you can see that you have a high value of X, but you have a low value of Y. If you go to the next point on the line, you have this X decreases and Y increases. So if you have two variables and as one is increasing, the other one is decreasing, you can say that there's a negative correlation. An example I can use for this is I'm thinking, what example can I use for negative correlation? Okay, I can't remember
Price
any
and
now.
demand.
Sorry?
The price of goods and the quantity you buy.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so the prices of goods, as is going higher, the quantity you're able to buy becomes lower, right? So I think this is even a very sound concept in economics or accounting, right? So what I just want you guys to understand basically is that in creating intelligence from data, what scientists are doing is just studying patterns and then using the pattern that's been created from historical data to determine new data. Now, we now create that pattern in different ways in algorithms. So sometimes we model this pattern into machine learning algorithms and then use that to create new insights. So, but the understanding of these patterns, on how these patterns are formed, how these data patterns are formed, is highly dependent on basic statistical understanding. that I'm explaining to you now. So I've explained normal distribution to you by showing you the bell curve pattern of distribution, which we call skewed data. And now we are looking at two variable pattern distribution, which we can have as positive correlation, as negative correlation. So just like he said, the prices of goods and demands is a negative correlation, right? And then you can have a no correlation. No correlation means there's no relationship. They don't meet, right? An example is the prices of goods and weather. Weather does not have anything to do with prices of goods. It's only superstitions in African context that will say, oh, it's raining today, and maybe prices will go high. Let me not go to the market or whatever. But I'm just trying to use that as an example. So what we are just saying is that there are some variables that do not correlate. They have no correlation. So this is also very important in creating machine learning models and in algorithms. To say, oh, okay, if there's no correlation, you can't generate any insights from that data. You understand? So you need to understand these patterns and how they layer on the basis of statistics. So I've been saying variables. So variables are just columns on your data, on your Excel. I'm going to explain this more in detail next week. By the time we are importing data from Excel into KNIME to show us how KNIME Analytics platform reads each of the data from your data points as variables, and then how it uses these variables to generate insights. So we're going to see that, but I just want you to understand the basis. So Excel is also very powerful. Even with the knowledge of using Excel, you can create a